Hello everyone, and welcome to the world premiere of Andrew Downes' Sixth Symphony. This production is part of #AndrewDownes70, a year of concerts to celebrate the composer's 70th birthday, raising money for Stoke Mandeville's spinal research. The reason we have chosen this charity is because Andrew Downes broke his back 10 years ago and received amazing care at Stoke Mandeville Hospital. If you would like to donate, please visit andrewdownes.com. Andrew Downes was born in Birmingham in 1950. He won a choral scholarship to St John's College, Cambridge in 1969, where he gained an MA degree specialising in composition, and in 1974 went on to study composition with Herbert Howells at the Royal College of Music. Between 1990 and 2005, he was head of the School of Composition and Creative Studies at Royal Birmingham Conservatoire and was awarded a professorship in 1992. In 2014, he was made Emeritus Professor of Birmingham City University for carrying out his work with distinction. He now works as a freelance composer. A prolific composer with 116 works to his credit, ranging from solo vocal works to song cycles, cantatas, oratorio, choral works and opera, and works for solo instruments, duos, quartets, octets and orchestra, Andrew Downes' career spans over 5 decades and numerous recordings. He has received commissions by many artists, ensembles and organisations, and his works have been performed by groups including the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, Selwyn and Trinity Chapel Choirs Cambridge, flute choirs throughout America and world-class soloists. To find out more, do visit andrewdownes.com, where you will find information on all his works, recordings, films, downloadable sheet music, a blog written by his wife and publisher Cynthia Downes, and a podcast series hosted by me. My name is Paula Downes. I have created the film to go along with the symphony, and I will be talking about that in a few moments. For now, I'm going to pass you over to the composer Andrew Downes, his wife and publisher Cynthia Downes, the conductor Anthony Bradbury, leader of the orchestra, the Central England Camerata, my sister Anna Downes, and the recording engineer, Paul Baker.
Hello, my name is Andrew Downes. Thank you for watching.
My name is Cynthia Downes. I'm the wife of Andrew Downes since 1975, and I've been his music publisher since 1978 when I founded Linwood Music, which has sent his music all over the world, often to prestigious institutions. For example, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra, Percussion de Strasbourg, the National Flute Orchestras of Venezuela and Mexico, the China Film Philharmonic Orchestra, the BBC, numerous universities, and many international music conventions, particularly in the USA.
Hi there, my name's Anna Downes and I'm the older daughter of the composer of the piece you're about to hear. So what's really lovely about Symphony No. 6 is that it's been written for me and my orchestra, the Central England Camerata, and our conductor Anthony Bradbury. I have had pieces written before for me by my dad, such as Symphony No. 4, which was for wind orchestra. That was just as I left to go to university, so that was lovely. And then of course there was the bridal march for my wedding. Or actually, I should say our wedding.
Hello everyone. My connection with the Downes family goes back many years, actually right back to when I was a student at secondary school performing some of Andrew's works. Since then, it's been my great privilege to work extensively with Andrew, Cynthia, Anna and Paula on a whole range of Andrew's music. And I've also been lucky enough to perform so far 3 of Andrew's symphonies. So the first one I performed was the Second Symphony, which I've done a couple of times. It's a work I love very much. And then I was really delighted to be involved in a performance of Andrew's First Symphony back in September 2016 as part of Andrew's 65th birthday celebrations in St Philip's Cathedral, Birmingham. That was a very memorable occasion. So how fitting it is to be involved in Andrew's 70th birthday celebrations. And I was really delighted when he and Anna asked me to perform Andrew's 6th symphony, which is a work that was obviously completely new to me, and a thrill to be involved in the first performance of it.
Hello, I'm Paul Baker. For those who don't know me, before the lockdown happened, I could be seen regularly dressed in strange clothes, playing obsolete musical instruments at bemused people. That's all ceased, but fortunately I also make instruments, which I'm doing most of the time nowadays. Since I have nothing better to do with my spare time, I also do some recordings. Andrew hired me to point ridiculous numbers of intimidating microphones at trembling musicians and then edit the result into something resembling a symphony.
I composed my 6th symphony during 2019 after our daughter Paula started planning the celebrations of my 70th birthday by suggesting that we book the beautiful stately home Hagley Hall for a special concert of celebration. I decided to write a symphony for first performance in the lovely gallery of Hagley Hall, but because of its relatively small size and lack of resonance, it was necessary to scale down the instrumentation to chamber ensemble size. I decided on similar forces to those in the preludes of my opera Far from the Madding Crowd and dramatic cantata The Ballad of St. Kenelm.
Now, of course, originally it was going to be a live concert at Hagley Hall, and that turned into a recording session at Huntingdon Hall, Worcester. But I'm so pleased that we managed to have a plan B for it, because it is a really great work and it's been fantastic to be involved in the project.
The piece is absolutely wonderful, I have to say, and I think in a lot of ways it marks a departure to a new phase in Andrew's compositional style. I feel possibly this is because the piece was conceived and written shortly after Dad broke his neck. He actually fell out of his wheelchair in a terrible accident at my house, and it was undiagnosed for 3 weeks, so he was living with that pain. He then spent 7 weeks in hospital, and after he came out, he wrote Symphony No. 6. But the piece is beautifully lyrical and gives everybody a really interesting play.
When Andrew first started composing his Symphony No. 6, I heard an introduction of serene beauty moving to darkness and aggression and back to moments of hope. I straight away imagined the destruction of the world by mankind and the green shoots of nature refusing to be beaten. Whenever Andrew composes, titles for his pieces spring into my mind. So this title, Nature Fights Back, seemed ideal to me. Andrew liked it too and found a perfect picture to use on the front cover of the score. So that was used for the title of the whole piece and for the first movement.
Interesting that it's subtitled Nature Fights Back. Not many of Andrew's symphonies have been subtitled. I think this really gives a clue to the work. You'll see that it's very much nature fighting back. I think actually it's primarily an optimistic work. I think it's not only nature fighting back, but winning. See what your interpretation is when you hear it in a moment. It does have dark moments, I think, that are more reflective, but I think ultimately it's a positive work. It's scored for small orchestra, just single woodwind, single brass and single percussion players. So that means that actually every player is a soloist. And I think this makes it really a very unusual work. It means that every player has a really interesting part. And of course, it had the unintended consequence of being very suitable for COVID lockdown recording session, because it meant that the size of orchestra needed was much less. Clearly, that's with the glorious benefit of hindsight, not the reason that Andrew wrote it, but a happy coincidence. And you'll see various nature elements all depicted visually and orally, insects, birds, big skies, etc. And you'll see also and hear a wonderful variety of orchestral colour. Andrew is a great orchestrator, and again, this single person to a part playing means you've got some really interesting colours to listen to. I think you'll enjoy that.
The second movement immediately conjured up in my mind dawn and the lovely hill in our area, Clent.
This is especially personal to me because I actually lived at the foot of the Clent Hills for 20 years, so they were in my perennial backyard. So the picture of that movement really meant a lot to me and reminded me of my childhood.
For the third movement, I felt inspired to use French, Les oiseaux du jardin. Andrew loves birds and constantly draws my attention to their activities in our garden. It was as though he was communing with the garden birds as he wrote this movement. Putting the title in French seemed to add the romantic feel which the beautiful music called for. At the time of year when Andrew was writing Movement 4, beautiful insects were in abundance in our garden. The music again suggested a title in French to convey its exquisite beauty. Les insectes du jardin seemed to follow on naturally. To continue with this theme of nature on our doorstep, Andrew felt inspired to describe his favourite river in the last movement, hence the title, The Beautiful River Wye. Andrew created lots of multi-time passages to convey the eddying and swirling of the river.
It really is a tricky beast in places, particularly the last movement, which I know gave my fantastic friend Anthony a few grey hairs, if I'm honest.
Now, this little bit of insight here is a bit of a brain teaser. It's effectively two concurrent time signatures running together. It's very complex. And indeed, when Andrew handed the score over to me about a year ago, he said, I don't know how on earth you're going to conduct that movement. And he was right. It took me quite a while to get my head around it, and it needed a lot of thought and preparation. But you'd be pleased to know I did find a way. And that was a very satisfying movement to commit to tape, as it were.
Since the humble beginnings when I used to photocopy Andrew's handwritten scores, we now have arrived at the age of digital downloads. I spent 4 years uploading Andrew's compositional output, well over 100 pieces, scores and parts, and they're all now available online for people to download, which makes life very streamlined and makes for far less wastage of paper, time, packaging, etc., etc. So after Andrew had created his score and the parts on Sibelius, it was my turn to put the finishing touches to them, print them out and bind them, ready for Anthony Bradbury and the excellent Central England Camerata to record this beautiful piece.
So in terms of my orchestra, the Central England Camerata, this is made up of top freelance musicians who work in the Midlands area. I work with them frequently in various different ways, in different orchestras, in different ensembles. It's just a delight to work with such great people. Obviously, during the last year, it's been a very challenging time for any working musicians, and the vast majority of us have lost pretty much all of our income due to the coronavirus. It's been really, really difficult, and it's been so wonderful to have this opportunity to get everybody together to perform and premiere this wonderful piece.
And for me also, it was really exciting because it meant that I was doing live music again with the Central England Camerata. And for me personally, it was actually the first conducting gig I'd done for 8 months because of the coronavirus lockdown. So what a thrill it was to finally be performing music again together.
The first part of my day was spent hauling cratefuls of tech over to Huntingdon Hall. Microphones are weird things. They are very much like musical instruments. Delicate, sensitive, precision devices. But they need a support network of electronics and cables which is awkward, heavy and inconvenient. So I spent the first couple of hours assembling stands, laying out a rat's nest of cables and trying to make sure nobody tripped over them. At one point I commandeered a broom, which proved very useful as an improvised cable support when clamped to a pew. Unfortunately, there are some photos of that broom, which isn't especially good for my credibility as a sound engineer, but it did the job. Then the musicians arrived and the real work began. I could be seen fiddling with arcane settings, pressing mysterious buttons, muttering unintelligible things about ORTF patterns and channel clipping, staring intently at the magic waveforms appearing on the screen, and trying not to panic. See, orchestral recording is pretty terrifying because all this gear has to work first time. Doing a retake of a few bars because there's a misprint in the second clarinet part, well, that's fine. That's just normal orchestral work. But no engineer ever wants to ask for a retake because he forgot to arm the microphones on the second violins. The shame would just be too much. But in the end, it's all worth it for the moments when everything's working and I can just sit back and listen to the glorious music flooding into those microphones. I get the unique experience of hearing a bunch of highly talented musicians performing an astounding new creation from a brilliant composer and realising that I am the first audience.
I think you're going to really enjoy it. It really is a fitting end to the year of music for Andrew Downes' 70th birthday.
I really hope you enjoy the symphony. I think it's a wonderful work. It deserves many more performances. So all that remains for me to say is thank you for tuning in today. Thank you on behalf of the Central England Camerata, on behalf of Anna and me. And finally, I just did want to say, Andrew, happy 70th birthday. Thank you.
To make the films to go with this symphony, I started off with the titles and I listened to the music. I came up with the idea of using my daughter's dancing for movements 3 and 4. For movement 2, I had a lot of footage of the Clent Hills since that is one of my favourite places to walk. For the last movement, I really enjoyed learning all about the geography of the River Wye. For movement 1, I used footage of World Wars I and II and of climate change, and I contrasted it with scenes of nature. And now, without further ado, here is Andrew Downes' Symphony No. 6.
Thank